Israel is considered one of the most advanced countries in the Southwest Asia in economics and industrial development. In 2010, the country joined OECD. It is ranked the third in the region on World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index, as well as in the World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Report. It has the second largest number of startup companies in the world after the US, according to Bonfors and Advision, Paris University.
Hello and welcome to Sharing Vietnam, our daily show on NetViet VTC 10. Today we have a very special guest from Israel Embassy. He's from the Economic Department. So please welcome Mr. Asaf.
Well,
Mr. Asaf, thank you for joining our show.
Thanks for inviting me.
Amid the global economic crisis, the two-way trade between Vietnam and the Middle East has been growing. What is the two-way trade situation between Israel and Vietnam since the beginning of 2012?
The trade between the two countries has been growing in the past 3 years, and fortunately we see the same growth more or less this year as well, despite the global economic downturn. Israel export to Vietnam around $340 million worth of goods and services, whereas Vietnam export to Israel about 200 million. So in total, our trade exceeded $500 million.
And you were in our show last year, and you offer a lot of insights, about the trade cooperation between the two countries. But since then, since last year until now, the domestic demand of Vietnam, has been decreasing according to many reports. And does it affect, the export condition of Israel to Vietnam?
Well, obviously it does affect, because the Vietnamese economy and also the Israeli economy is slowing down. However, the interest in doing business between the two countries is still large, and we see that many Israeli business people are asking about business opportunities in Vietnam. For just an example to share with the audience, I was last summer in Israel, and I announced through our organizations that I will be in Israel and I'm ready to meet the Israeli companies. And within 2 hours I had 50 meetings arranged with Israeli companies. And all of them were asking, how can we do business in Vietnam? How can we import from Vietnam? How can we export to Vietnam? It shows that the Israeli economy, despite the crisis, is still strong,
Mm-hmm.
it's still vibrant, and it is trying to find new markets. If the traditional markets in the US and Europe are declining, then the Israelis are very, very interested in finding new markets. And we see that in the first 9 months of 2012, the trade balance is more or less at the same level. So that means that despite the difficulties, what we're able to bring to Vietnam is meaningful and worth a lot for Vietnamese, and vice versa.
So what is the situation, of export from Israel to the world, especially in Europe and America, amid this global economic downturn?
But as I said, the demand has shrunk. We can see it in the figures, and we can see a shift of trade from Israel. We can see a shift of the trade of Israel from the US, North America and Europe
so because
to
of the
Asia
decrease
and
in
Latin
demand in Europe, so it's
Correct.
shift to emerging market like Vietnam, right?
Correct. Also, those countries, those economies are trying to support their economies, and that means that it's harder for Israelis to export. And in addition, our competitive advantage is in high technology and in the
The two-way trade between Vietnam and the Middle East had increased sharply in recent years, reaching $3.31 billion in 2010, $5.17 billion in 2011, and $3.95 billion in the first 6 months of 2012. Turkey, Arab Saudis, Iraq, and Israel are Vietnam's major trading partners that mostly consume mobile phones and accessories, computers, fiber, seafoods, rubber, tea, milk, and pepper. Meanwhile, Vietnam imports plastic materials, liquefied gas, metal, and precious gemstone from these lucrative markets of 260 million people.
Since you mentioned the high demand in economic cooperation and investment for Vietnam. So what is the current investment situation in Vietnam right now?
Unfortunately, there aren't too many Israelis investing in Vietnam. And to the best of my knowledge, there are no Vietnamese investing in Israel. So this is a field where we can work harder to increase the investment on both sides.
But I know that Vietnam is investing in the Middle East, some other countries. So do you know why, is there any obstacle for Vietnam to invest in Israel?
There's absolutely no obstacle. I think that the main reason for the low FDI in both directions is just a lack of knowledge and understanding, and this is what we're trying to fix, and that is one of the reasons I came to this show. There is a big cultural gap, and there is a big gap of understanding. Next year we'll be marking only 20 years of diplomatic relations, whereas Vietnam has been having diplomatic relations with other countries for a few decades already. The relations with Israel are still young. Part of the natural development of these relations is introducing of FDI into both countries. But it will take time, and it will take a few more years until we can overcome the gaps.
Can you specify about the cultural gap between the two countries?
There is a significant difference in the way the two countries do business. Israelis are very quick, fast. They are not patient, and they are very impersonal, whereas in Vietnam the processes are slower, things are checked more carefully than they used to be checked in Israel.
So they grow impatience with the systems?
Yes, Israelis are impatient in general, and sometimes it's very positive because it drives us to be the best in the world in everything that we try to do. Sometimes it's just not suitable, and especially when it comes to high risk investment, you need patience. You need time to get to know the market. You need time to get to know the people. You need time to build trust, and this is something that is lacking. However, I feel that the Israelis that I meet, and I meet many of them who come to Vietnam, they are willing to learn, and they are willing to adapt to the Vietnamese
culture and ways of working and business environment. Correct. So like you said, right now the investment between the two countries is not very high. So what can we do to attract more investment from Israel? I
think in general, the more transparent the processes are in Vietnam, the easier it is for an investor. Any investor, Israeli or from any other country, likes stability and likes to know that in few years' time and following certain steps, he will get his investment back plus some profit. And I think that Vietnam is being evaluated as risky for Israeli investors. Adding to that the cultural gaps, the distance.
Can you specify about the risk? What kind of risk?
The risk is mainly in the fact that I feel that the Israeli investors do not know exactly what is going to happen when they start to invest.
In another culture which is different from theirs?
Correct. So Vietnam, as I see it, is still very interesting, is still attractive, but if we can help the Israeli investors know more about the processes here and how things work and how they can reduce the risk in investing, there will be more.
And that's more work for you to do in years to come.
Correct.
So we were talking before about the topic of high technology, which is one of the strongest advantage of Israel. And Vietnam is especially in need of high-tech agriculture, in our condition to develop agriculture as one of our main product for export. So can you give us more insights about the cooperation in high-tech agriculture between the two countries and the potentials for cooperations?
Yes. Well, the relations and the cooperation with all levels of the agricultural sector in Vietnam are very strong. The most significant project that Israel and Vietnam are doing together is obviously the dairy farm in An province, the TH dairy farm. This is by far the biggest, but there are other initiatives in fishery, aquaculture, coffee, and other crops, where Israeli business people and the manufacturers cooperate with Vietnamese.
Agriculture in Israel is a highly developed industry. Israel is a major exporter of fast products and a world leader in agricultural technologies. Despite the fact that the geography of Israel is not naturally conducive to agriculture, more than half of the land areas is deserts, and the climate and lack of water resources do not favor farming, and only 20% of the land is naturally arable. While agricultural workers make up only 3.7% of the workforce, Israel produces 95% of its own food requirement. One example of high technologies of Israel is an automatic system to water the field using water energies so that it wins energy saving and very safe. Water is automatically led to the fields beyond the temperature, time in the days, and other conditions of the land. Israel is also known for its sophisticated system of water purification using all kinds of fish.
And so the technology helped Vietnamese farmers to control the quality of their products better.
Correct. It helps control the quality. It helps process the food and the crops in a better way. It reduces gas emissions. It reduces pollution. It keeps the water clean, and it reuses the water. The Israelis supply all these technologies to Vietnam.
Is there any other field that Vietnam and Israel can cooperate on besides agriculture or high technology?
Well, as I said, I and the Israeli industry are very optimistic about cooperation potential. There are other fields that we haven't explored yet or haven't explored enough. One of them is medical devices and pharmaceuticals. Israel is a leading player in the world in these fields. Another interesting field is new media. Everything that relates to delivery of content through internet, mobile phone. Again, Israel has some cutting-edge technologies. And I think another interesting sector may be energy and also consumer goods. There are some Israeli products that can be sold.
Do you think that it will be an obstacle for Israelis investor to invest in the media, since both countries don't know each other's culture very well, like you mentioned before?
Well, I think an investment is an investment, and it doesn't matter in which sector you invest or in which country. As long as you can see a process in which you invest and then get a return, then there may be interest. And I think if you look at the fundamentals of Vietnam, it's clear that the new media and the media is going to be big. You are a very high-techy nation. Everybody has a smartphone. Everybody has 3G. You're now testing the 4G.
So you mean the technology or
I mean
telecommunication?
I mean both the technology and the content. So you consume or you watch a lot of TV, and the internet penetration is growing here, and that means that more and more content will be required. So more stories, more news, more films, more video clips will be watched by Vietnamese.
I see. So it's one of the potentials that Israel can cooperate or invest in Vietnam.
We are at the embassy together with the Vietnamese government are trying to encourage it, and we are now going to propose a free trade agreement to Vietnam.
Both countries have their own advantage, and if they cooperate or work better, cooperate better, they can boost the trade between the two countries as well as the investment. So thank you very much, Mr. Asaf, for joining our show.
Thank you very much.
And that concludes our show for today. If you have any questions or comments about Sharing Vietnam, please send an email to us at sharingvietnam@gmail.com. See you next time.
Xin cảm ơn ông Zafrir Asaf, Phó Đại sứ Israel tại Việt Nam và biên tập viên Thanh Hằng với những chia sẻ hết sức thú vị vừa rồi. Tiếp theo chương trình chúng ta sẽ cùng đến với câu chuyện hội nhập của ngày hôm nay cùng với biên tập viên Khánh Long.
Cảm ơn biên tập viên Mai Phương. Quý vị và các bạn thân mến, trong mục hội nhập ngày hôm nay, chúng tôi xin đề cập đến câu chuyện Hiệp hội Mía đường Việt Nam bước đầu thành công với vai trò trung gian, gắn kết các doanh nghiệp sản xuất mía đường với doanh nghiệp phân phối trong tiêu thụ đường tại Việt Nam.